Mahisasha Mardini, Part 2 of 3. The argument for Durga's antiquity becomes all the more compelling in light of her linkage to another ancient goddess, Vinjavasini. This identification is consistent in two hymns interpolated into the Mahabharata, the Durgastava and the Durgastotra, and in 3 hymns of the Harivamsa. Among the latter, Vishnu's praise of Nidra first extols Vinjavasini for foiling Kamsa's plot to kill the infant Krishna. Then, a later 58-line addition to the hymn not only makes it clear that Vinjavasini and Durga are one and the same goddess, but also identifies her in line 32 with Aditi, the universal mother of the Rig Veda. This is highly significant considering that the references to Aditi in the Rig Veda may well be the most ancient surviving records of any goddess in the Indian literary tradition. Durga's association with the Vaishnava themes of the destruction of wickedness and the protection of virtue is another thread running through the Durgastava and the Durgastotra. The Durgastava's hymnist is Yudhishthira, the dispossessed king whose situation resembles Surata's. Significantly, the Durgastotra, one of the earliest Sanskrit hymns to the Devi, occurs immediately before the 18 chapters that form the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna, about to engage in battle at Kurukshetra, is counseled by Krishna to recite the Durgastotra in order to ensure victory. Arjuna descends from his chariot and invokes the Devi as Kali, Bhadrakali, Chandi, and Durga, and by other names and epithets scattered throughout the Devi Mahatmya. Together, Yudhishthira's ecstatic praise and Arjuna's invocation present a vision of Durga as a dark and resplendent goddess, the destroyer of Kaitaba and Mahisasura, worthy of worship by the Vedic gods. Endowed with all manner of weapons and adornments, she grants victory in battle and removes human burdens. Many are the boons she bestows on those who seek refuge in her. The 2 hymns share a multitude of themes, images, and epithets within the Devi Mahatmya, even entire closely corresponding passages, especially relating to the Devi's promises of protection and blessing. The strategic positioning of the Durgastotra in the Mahabharata forges a link between the Devi Mahatmya and the Bhagavad Gita. So does the forced enumeration of the Devi Mahatmya's text into 700 verses in order to conform to the Bhagavad Gita's similar number. Despite its alternative title, Sri Durga Saptasati, 700 verses to Sri Durga, the Devi Mahatmya actually consists of fewer than 600 full couplets. To arrive at the requisite 700, redactors variously numbered some single lines, partial lines, and interlocutory phrases as full slokas. For wishing to draw such a parallel to the Bhagavad Gita, they must have had a compelling reason. Indeed, they did. They wanted to equate the Devi Durga's activity with the redemptive role of Sri Krishna in Vaishnava religion. The idea of divine intervention in worldly affairs belongs to the Vaishnava tradition of the avatar or incarnate deity. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna declares that whenever righteousness declines and evil proliferates, he is born into the world to protect the good, destroy wickedness, and re-establish the natural order, the Dharma, that upholds the world. In the Mahabharata, protective intervention is a role also ascribed to the Devi. On Krishna's advice, Arjuna invokes Durga with a hymn immediately before the battle of Kurukshetra, whereupon she appears and assures victory. And just as the opening words of the Bhagavad Gita declare the field of Kurukshetra to be a metaphor for the field of Dharma, the battleground of human life, with its perpetual conflict between good and evil, the battlefields of the Devi Mahatmya embody a parallel symbolism. To compare the Devi Mahatmya to the Bhagavad Gita is to reinforce the Devi's protective, redemptive role and her saving grace in the field of adversity. Whenever evil prevails over good and upsets the natural order, the Devi, who is the universal mother, protector, and salvific goddess, intervenes. Finally, the second Karata of the Devi Mahatmya has theological and practical dimensions in portraying the Devi as the salvific Durga. And this story is intended for Surata. Having lost his kingdom to evildoers, he can relate to the dispossessed gods. Having ruled by divine authority, duty-bound to uphold the Dharma, he can relate to its overturning. The heaven-storming asuras and the gods represent the good and evil tendencies that pervade the world in perpetual opposition. Mahisha's fury symbolizes the ego-based sense of attachment that plagues Surata over his lost kingdom. The buffalo demon's behavior embodies the guna of rajas, the fiery active energy that manifests as restlessness, desire, rage, and corrosive passion. The Devi also appears in her rajasic aspect as the inherent splendor of the male gods, and she's subordinate to none of them. Their individual strengths and virtues which emerge from their bodies with fiery brilliance and coalesce into one supreme female form are but aspects of her own undivided might.